Welcome to the Husker247 HypeCast. I'm Brian Christopherson. I'm joined by Michael Bruntz and our special guest, Michael Severe. We'll break down this Nebraska UCLA game here in just a minute. But first, I know the intro sucked. I know it sucked, certainly in comparison to how our good friend Mike Schaefer would get this HypeCast going with those booming words coming right into your kitchen. Let's get hyped. Even when Nebraska was playing like Georgia Southern, he would do it, and you'd be like, all right, I'm going to try to get hyped about this thing. And then Nebraska might lose to Georgia Southern, but we don't have to dwell on those type of things. But what I do want to say, and I know Bruntz echoes this, we're saddened to lose a member of our crew because Schaefer is just a great teammate and just he is a great all-around dude. Not everyone gets to work with people they actually like. And we actually had that privilege. So that's been awesome. And the two things I know are that Schaefer's going to kick tail in what comes next, and that we will continue to have sad text message exchanges about the Vikings. And those are the only certainties I know. So we are sad that he's not here getting us hyped as best as he can, but we'll do our best here to navigate this and talk through this Nebraska UCLA game. And we're happy to have a ball knower. I think he is a ball knower. He's in that category. Michael Severe, thanks for joining us.
I appreciate it. I'm thinking, does anyone among your crew have a recent championship? I know I don't. It's been 86 since the Mets, and 2009 since the Saints. I mean, anybody have one?
Broncos. They had their little spurt, but other than that, no.
Yeah. You had the final year with the long-necked wonder who couldn't throw the ball anymore and still won a Super Bowl. Yeah, I remember that year.
That was you just hit it. That's exactly how it went.
There's allegedly a story, in fact, that Schaefer has shared of Bruntz kind of getting in the face of some Patriots fans in an AFC Championship game, or has that been exaggerated?
Not in the face. I was not in the face.
Okay,
it was just a guy in a Tom Brady jersey happened to walk into the wrong bar, and things went the Broncos' way, and I was loud about it. So. Yeah, but just be careful where you're walking around in those Brady jerseys.
I didn't go to the New Orleans Super Bowl. I went to the NFC Championship game. But that morning, I went to the grocery store, and I had a Saints hat on. At a baker's store. I got the hat on. And this guy walks by me, and he's like, Saints suck. And I was like, okay. He goes, it's ridiculous. They shouldn't be in the Super Bowl. He was a Vikings fan. Yes, and he was very, very upset at me. And I'm like, first of all, I didn't do anything. I'm not Tracy Porter. I did not hit or try to hurt your quarterback, Brett Favre. I was at the game. That's all I did. But yeah, that was very weird. Closest I think I ever came to a fight at a Baker's. It was very weird.
That game still hurts.
I know. I'm sorry about that. It should have been over earlier. If our good friend Scott Fujita or Scott Shanley just pick up that fumble at the 50-yard line and run it back for a touchdown, the Saints are up 14. It's probably over. It'd make you feel better.
I don't want to make this 2009 NFC Championship podcast, but we had you.
Yeah,
we had you.
The opposite of a HypeCast.
We had you out yarded 2-1, I think. But anyway,
but that's what I said. I said it was you guys turned the ball over 5 times, but if that one big turnover, if they just scoop it, it's a whole different game. But
all right.
Yeah, Pierre Thomas. Woo.
All right, Nebraska UCLA at the Rose Bowl Saturday night. What time is it? 8 p.m. Central. Bruntz, is that it?
Yeah. That is. Yeah. Put the coffee on.
Yeah. I'll start with Severe. Let's start on the offensive side of the ball. Start with the storyline, man. It's TJ Lateef making his first start back home. We have a small sampling on him, but what's been your early impressions of him? And what are you looking for in his first career start?
I liked him coming out of high school. I thought the thing that I admired the most about it is that he always came to balance when he throws the ball, which is like my pet peeve. It's probably the reason why I don't have a huge love for Dylan Raiola, because he doesn't necessarily always come to balance. But I enjoy that about him. Obviously, the mobility is a thing this week, especially. So let me give you this: Dampier for Utah had 87 yards rushing against them. Mm-hmm. Calandra from New Mexico had 85 with sack adjusted yards. Drew Aller had 92 yards rushing. Childs only had 19, but got hurt, but got a touchdown early. Malik Washington from Maryland had 67, and Mendoza had 45 and a touchdown last week. So with that ability to be able to run, getting more of that zone read, the RPO, putting a third element into it, because you always had the handoff of the throw, but now you got the handoff, quarterback run, throw. I'm excited to see. And the thing I've been most disappointed about all season, especially the last 4 games, has been the lack of being able to stretch the field. And I believe over the last 3 weeks, it was something like 2 of 16 over 15 yards. And so I'd love to see that. And I believe because of who Lateef is and getting out of the pocket and extending the progressions, I think we're going to see a few more long balls later in him scrambling around.
You seem pretty juiced about it.
I am excited. Yeah,
that's good.
I'm hyped actually.
You're hyped. Good. Emmett's on an all-conference pace, maybe first team, it appears, with more than 1,000 yards. We also know this O-line's pretty banged up going into this game. Severe laid it out. They're not a great rushing defense, but what's sort of your what are you expecting with the run game possibilities on Saturday night?
Yeah, I mean, it changes everything, right? Like if you're UCLA's defense, I mean, you're having to essentially account for another guy on offense. I think there's probably, I mean, it is almost like you're facing a team with a new coach in some ways, because this is an offense, I think, that Nebraska can kind of change to fit Lateef a little bit, and UCLA is going to have to adjust to some things that probably Nebraska hasn't put on tape with Dylan Raiola. I'm eager to see, if they get him more involved in the rollout game. I mean, it's going to be a big Emmett Johnson game regardless, but I think Emmett's going to benefit from UCLA having to account for TJ Lateef as a runner. Like, I just think that's going to cause a lot of issues. And like Michael laid out, I mean, UCLA has given up a ton of yardage to quarterbacks that can run. I think that's going to free things up for Emmett Johnson. I think the thing I'm curious about is how much Nebraska is going to be patient and just feeding Emmett. Like, I think the yards are going to be there if Nebraska wants them to be. And, I think this is going to be one of those games too, where you might need Emmett to break a long one. It's felt all year like he's been close on a few, gets to the second level and just doesn't quite get it done. But, he's going to need to really kind of carry the load. And also with just the limited nature of the offensive tackle spot for Nebraska right now, he's going to have a good game pass blocking. And I think that's kind of been here or there, as they've kind of gone along in conference play. He's blocked well at times and not so well at other times. And communication with those tackles is going to be really key, with, the constant shifting sides, new guys in there, guards playing tackles. I mean, that's a lot to account for during the season.
Severe, we're a year into the Dana Holgorsen era at Nebraska. I think it was this week, about a year ago. What's your thoughts on how it's gone? And I guess just like, has there been surprises to you as it's progressed, and what are you looking for in these final games that they can do that they haven't done?
I'll talk about the surprises first. I thought we would see more explosive plays through the air. That's something that we haven't seen this season. Part of it is an inability for your quarterback to at times see downfield when guys come open. Dana pointed it out on Tuesday. You had a play where down the sideline, you had Lindenmeyer. He was open.
Right.
Instead of waiting that second, he decided he was going to come off and throw the ball. There's a time against Minnesota where they had a wheel route to Mosey, who comes open. Again, he all of a sudden kind of panics in the pocket, moves when he doesn't even have pressure. So that's been kind of disappointing. It's a combination both, I think, of pass calling and your quarterback being a little shell shock from getting hit so much. The thing that I like, because, I track points per play, differential, and I track a lot of red zone scoring stuff, and they've been better. I mean, their finishing drive rate when they get successful drives over the 40 has gone up since the 2 years before that with the other offensive coordinator. Their red zone, especially over the last 3 or 4 weeks, has gotten better. They're running the ball better in the red zone, and their points per play until last week, which really struggled because they only got 17 points. That's continually go up. So I think those things are the strongest things for Holgorsen. Finishing drives, which they weren't doing before,
right,
and now converting in the red zone most recently.
I wonder if it helps TJ that he hasn't taken all these hits this year. And you mentioned shell shock, that one of the coaches this week said spooked on the exact play you're talking about with Lindenmeyer, where you don't see it. It's maybe because you took 9 sacks against Minnesota a few weeks before that. So I wonder if that can help TJ a little mentally, that he hasn't at least specifically gone through all that.
Yeah.
Switching over to the defensive side of the ball, Brunts, what's your biggest worry or worries for the Huskers on that side of it going into this one?
I think it's the backyard football. Like if Nebraska's not able to rush the passer with discipline and tackle in the open field, I mean, I think that's going to be what's going to hurt them against UCLA. I mean, if they're not able to keep the quarterback in the pocket, or at least get numbers to the ball, I think that's probably the biggest concern for me, is just kind of the off script stuff. Like, watched a little bit of UCLA, at the start of the season, and then after they made the change, and Nico still put the ball in some bad spots, especially
Nico who? What's his full name?
Iamaleava.
There you go. So, John Butler had kind of an aside yesterday where he said, yeah, he can make all the throws if he knows what the coverage is. And I'm kind of curious to see what the cat and mouse game with that's going to be like, especially with the passing game and how they approach things. I thought they did a good job of that against USC last week. Obviously, the numbers were good, but it felt like they really went out of their way to disguise things. But I think the biggest thing is going to be whether or not Nebraska can tackle well, and whether they can kind of, when they have the chance to get Nico on the ground, they got to do it because he leads the team in rushing and passing. So much of their offense goes through him. I think Nebraska really has to key in on him and do what they can to limit him.
I'm in downtown Omaha. I got ambulances going on behind me. Hopefully everyone's all right there.
Big City, BC.
Yeah, that's me. I can make it in the big city. I can, Mom. I was going to ask you, Severe, about Nico, because you're really good at like breaking down guys, and you watch a lot of it. What about his game stands out, strengths and weaknesses?
I consider myself a Nico expert because I've hated on him a lot. And so I like to, when I hate on somebody, I want to try to make sure I have all the numbers and research and watch all their snaps. There's 3 things he does not do well. Okay. The first one is that he's not a precision passer. He is a guy who gets the ball near and around the wide receivers or tight ends or running backs, but he's not a precision passer. He rarely ever puts the ball on the right side of the person. So because of that, he will occasionally get interceptions from tip balls, and he'll get interceptions sometimes just because it's behind a guy. So that's one thing he does poorly. His overall footwork in the pocket, once he gets a little flustered and he will try to throw, will have his feet next to each other, which loses strength off a guy who has a big arm. That causes problems as well. And the third one is that even though he is mobile, he's kind of heavy-footed when you watch him. It's a very strange thing because it's a combination. It reminds me a little bit of some of those long striders where they don't look fast until they get out into the open. And you're like, oh, okay. It's because they're not explosive. And that's who he is. He will rarely ever just take off out of the pocket and beat a guy if the guy's got the angle on him. Now, when he gets downfield, he's a little bit, the juices get going a little bit. And he gets a long stride into it. But he's a heavy-footed quarterback who's considered to be mobile. And so because of that, that's why a lot of times you will see him. His sacks aren't always like 4 or 5 yard sacks. They'll be like 1 yard sacks because he's moving to the line of scrimmage, cannot run the guy, and he'll get sacked there. So there's a lot of deficiencies. He obviously does some things well. He had a great game against Penn State. Best game I've ever seen him have. Well, a couple games at Tennessee. But in general, when he plays against a top 50, you can look at these numbers. Top 50 defense, he struggles. If it's a top 50 defense, he doesn't play well in it. And you mentioned him leading the team in rushing. I hope he leads the team in rushing again, because I think the running backs are a bigger threat against Nebraska than he is. I think Jalen Berger could put up some yards. And they have another kid who's kind of explosive. But I look at him and I go, I hope he tries to put it all on his shoulders, because I think that's good for Nebraska.
You did sound like a Nico expert, honestly.
I don't like him, and so I had to argue. Sip and I fight over Nico all the time, and so I like to have all the information I can have.
Do you go around saying that to people at the grocery store, like I'm a Nico expert, kind of throw that out there?
Iamaleava expert. That's what I say. I'm just sitting there. I'm looking at apples.
Yeah.
I know Golden Delicious and I know Nico.
Heavy-footed. Heavy-footed.
He's a heavy-footed
I
dude.
tell you.
It's very weird. Yeah, he is heavy-footed.
This week, Brunt's Rule said, obviously there was disappointment with the loss to USC, but he also thought some guys played their best games. And then on Tuesday, John Butler was running through like some of the young guys on defense, sort of naming them off. Even with sort of that result that was painful for this Husker fan base, do you see the progress on the defense? Where do you think they're at and their headspace, coming out of that game?
Yeah, it feels like with the defensive line, it's a little bit unfortunate that the numbers are what they are, because I think there's individuals that you've kind of seen that kind of gradual upward tick with. Like Waneri is a completely different player now than he was at the start of the year in terms of confidence, and I think just his ability to he just seems more assertive. I don't know, like that's not there's no numbers behind that, but Cade Petchock, kind of the same way. I mean, they're leaning on him a lot more. When he kind of figures out the game in his head, I think he's going to be really, a force to be reckoned with. And he's a high motor kid that feels like he's just kind of out there trying to make plays rather than, really having a good understanding of what's going on out there. So I think those types of guys, you could definitely say have taken a step forward the last few weeks. Certainly Petchock, in terms of how they're using him, I think the snap counts for him are way up. The secondary's playing really well. And part of that, I think Nebraska's got good corners. I think obviously John Butler's background as a defensive backs coach helps there. Doesn't hurt having Phil Snow working with that group as well. Addison Williams. So I think those are the two levels I think you can look at individually that guys are playing better. So yeah, I mean, I would accept that, the performance they put up against USC, I think there's a lot of positives you can take from that. I mean, we were kind of talking about it, Brian, that, you basically had a pool of about 6 plays where that was the game right there,
right,
and what they were able to do. So, we'll see if they can build off that going forward. But I do think, individually, 10 games into the season, there's guys that are improving and guys that are going to be part of this defense, a huge part of this defense next season.
I wanted to throw this last one at both of you before we get to our predictions. I always ask the opposing beat writer when we do our 5 questions about their team, sort of like what's a wild card or X factor that they could see for their team against Nebraska. From Nebraska's angle, Severe, is there something that comes to mind in this game? Maybe it's a little under the surface, or is there an X factor you think that comes into play in tilting this?
Yeah, I mean, they're not going to have the benefit, the defense of both cold weather, a team that doesn't play well on the road, and the loudness of the crowd, which causes snap issues and communication issues with your team. So they're not going to have all of that. But the wild card is Vincent Shavers. BC, do you cook at all? Do you cook, Brunts? You guys cook at all? Okay, so
stew, yeah.
So if you accidentally put too much salt in something, what do? You throw some potatoes in it. The potatoes absorb the salt. It's not as salty. Vincent Shavers is basically the potato in this defense, right? He's got to absorb the things that are happening in front of him. For example, Cade Petchock takes the die play, supposed to do that. Donovan Jones takes the blocker coming off the edge. Whose job is it to get the rest of it? It's Vincent Shavers. Too many times, Vincent laterally hasn't been very good. Going forward, going backwards, I really like V9. Going sideways, he's got to get better at that, to be anticipating more. So he's got to be the potato in that stew you were talking about, absorb what's happening in front of him, and make more plays. I think he's the key to dealing with Nico. He's the key to dealing with the run game. He's the key with dealing a lot this week.
Be the potato. I
like
that.
Potato.
Yeah.
Absorb it.
You got something, Brunts? Wild card?
Yeah, I mean, are we at the point now where teams are just, not even going to deal with Nebraska's special teams? I mean, it felt like
this is the best special teams they played.
Yeah,
UCLA's the best.
Yeah, no, I know. That's what I like. This is a game where, I mean, their kicker's great. UCLA's kicker's really good. Mm-hmm. I'm curious to see which way it kind of goes in this one, because that's. I could see UCLA making a big play in this one, and kind of shifting things their way. But, against USC, it felt like you were just waiting for somebody, make a play, do something. And USC was, I mean, kicking the kickoffs out of bounds. Yeah. They were not going to allow Ja'Cory Barney to return anything of significance. And so, I think that I don't know if it's an X factor for either team, but I think it's going to be a really big piece of this game is who plays better on special teams or who finds that one or two plays in special teams that can kind of swing things. So, that was the thing against USC where you're just kind of like, oh, wow, Nebraska didn't get a big play here. Like it wasn't a significant advantage for them. So that's a big X factor in my mind in this one.
It's interesting that we're now talking about UCLA has a special teams to actually meet Nebraska and be even. Usually it's been the other way for so many years. All right.
You know, Nebraska already has more kickoff returns this year than Tennessee had the entire season last year.
I did not know that.
Yep.
I was before the season, I was like wave the hand and take it at the 25 guy. Mike, you don't like that. Well, Mike Eckler doesn't like that, and he's stuck it right back in my eye with what they've done. So
no fair catches, no doing that. Take every attempt you have to make a big play, and they're doing it even at a higher rate, like said, than Tennessee, who did at a pretty high rate last year.
Well, I'm a fan of it now. I just wasn't a fan of it when I would watch Nebraska in years past take it out and get snowed under at the 16 and then get a penalty and start the drive at the 7. But things have changed, so that's good.
Yep.
We'll go to some predictions here. We'll start with picks to click. I'll take one off the table. Sorry if you had him. I'm going to say Ja'Cory Barney. He was up front the other day. If his numbers, like he has 10 catches for, I think 36 yards the last 4 games, something like that. And I think he's going to get an explosive, and I think he will have a big punt return, even though UCLA isn't too shabby in special teams. So I'll say Barney. How about Severe?
All right, so I'm going to go with the guy who should have gotten targeted more last week because, as I've said many times, he was essentially setting up camp in the middle of the defense. He had a fire going. He had a tent going. He was ready. It's Luke Lindenmeyer. Luke Lindenmeyer's got to get the ball more. He's open a lot. He's the 4th option. So when they're looking at all the people, he's the guy that gets forgotten sometime by the defense. So get the ball to Luke Lindenmeyer and not going lateral down the line of scrimmage with that stupid Y stick to tight ends, which makes no sense. Get the ball down the field to him and let him run with his big ass.
Yeah, he's good. Bruns, who you got?
Emmett Johnson. I mean, it's kind of a layup, but I'll go Emmett Johnson this one. UCLA's run defense statistically not good. It's got to be an Emmett game to help out TJ Lateef. When you're talking about everybody doing just a little bit more this week, Emmett Johnson doing just a little bit more, and he's done plenty this year, would help out TJ Lateef, would help out that offensive line a ton, just get him going forward. And a little bit of pass blocking in there as well to help out the true freshman quarterback. So Emmett Johnson's my pick to click. What
if I do it like a snake draft now? And with the oddly specific prediction, I go right back to Bruns. This is where you're pick 12 and 13 in your fantasy draft. So you got to go next.
So I'm trying to get a quarterback and a wide receiver here. Is that what we're doing? So
I got one if you need time.
Go ahead. Buy me some time. Sorry.
All right. Sorry about that. I think TJ Lateef is going to have an explosive touchdown that is going to be 53 yards, pulls it, takes off. He gets tripped at about the 5-yard line. He's kind of stumbling. He leans it over the goal line. It's very close. They go to replay to see if he got in or not. He did, but everybody on Husker social media is like, these Big Ten officials suck. They're going to mess this up. We won't get it in, but they say it's a touchdown. 53-yard touchdown for TJ Lateef running it. Are you ready, Bruns?
Yes, I am. I think Nebraska is going to get 3 turnovers in this game. I think they're going to get a couple picks. I've got Sierra Wright getting one in this one. He's finally going to get a measurable statistic in this game back at home in Los Angeles. So Sierra Wright gets an interception. I think Andrew Marshall also gets a pick. And we also get a Cade Petchock strip sack fumble, and he falls on it. For some reason, teams early in the season just didn't block him. Just let him free run for Cade Petchock. I think he gets free again. Gets a fumble recovery in this one. And for the bonus, I think UCLA at some point in this game is going to have to go to a silent snap count. I think there's going to be a lot of Nebraska fans in this one. in this stadium, in this game, that's going to overwhelm UCLA, and I think you're going to see I think you're going to see UCLA struggle with some crowd noise at their own place.
You got to get one of them right. If you give 20 like you just did, what have you got, Severe?
I will say that UCLA's fumbled the ball 12 times, only lost 5, and so fumble regression should be coming back the way of the opponent. So I have one. TJ Lateef is going to be the one that I had picked. I hope it's not doubling up on you, but
sorry.
I have him with 2 rushing touchdowns.
Okay.
One of which will be from the 4-yard line, where it'll be kind of a zone read, and he'll just run in the end zone pretty easily, like we saw earlier against either Akron or Houston Christian. I can't remember which one. And then the other one's going to be about a 20-yarder. I'd say 21-yarder, where it'll be not a design run. It'll be a scramble run right up the middle, runs in the end zone for 2 touchdowns, which I am going to bet for at plus 800 for 2 touchdowns for TJ Lateef on the day.
All right. It's score prediction time. I'll go first. All the talk this week has been about everyone elevating coaches, players around TJ, rallying around him. I think they will. There's some things about this game I don't like on paper. It's going to be one with some anxious moments, but I'll say Nebraska 27, UCLA 23. How about you, Michael Bruns?
I was thinking 27 as well, but I'll go 30. I'll go 30 to Nebraska 30, UCLA 24. There's always anxious moments. It just comes with it's the lay of the land now. So 30 to 24 Nebraska in this one.
All right, Michael, first off, how many times have you been to the Rose Bowl? Have you been to the Rose Bowl?
I've been to the Rose Bowl 3 times watching an actual game, and I was there for a band competition that I saw there. That was right after high school. So I guess 3 times for a football game, once for a band competition.
Band competition. What do you think of it? What do you think of the
It's fine. It's awesome when it's the actual Rose Bowl going on.
Yes.
The UCLA games I've been to have not been anything to write home about. My cousin of mine, we have a lot of people that live in California from part of my family, and they all live right around that area. And so, it's never been what you would call a great place for a UCLA game or even a high school game. But when it's the Rose Bowl, I will say it is, as much as I hate the whole idea of the mountains and all that. But thank God the sun will be set. The sun can already be set. I know the sun will already be set, so you will not be seeing that this time for this game. But yeah, it's fine. I actually like the Coliseum because I'd rather watch USC play.
Yeah, the Coliseum I thought was sweet.
I had fun. Yeah.
What's your prediction?
All right, so it's really hard for me because I normally always stick with whatever my numbers are, but I mean they can't be the same when you're taking out a starting quarterback with that many starts and Dylan Raiola. So I've kind of changed mine. It's a little bit lower scoring than you guys. I have 23-17 Nebraska. Mm-hmm. And it's mainly because of I got to take some points off. I have Nebraska, if it was straight up about 6.5 point favorite. I took 4 off, made them a 2.5 point favorite. So, I don't think their home field is much of a thing I can add to it for UCLA. So I went 23-17 for my final with Nebraska winning.
All right. 3 Nebraska winners are the pick. Thank you so much for joining us, Michael. We'll do the old Hot Ones thing. Where can they find you besides being right here with us right now? Where can the people find you? You ever watch Hot Ones?
I've watched Hot Ones. I love spicy food. Matter of fact, this is what I had for my breakfast: the jalapeno Tillamook spicy jalapenos, which is very delicious. Because I'm going to lunch today with a friend of you guys's, and so I didn't want to eat too much this morning. So obviously I'm the Jet Award Foundation Executive Director, so we're always raising money to get people to be able to go to school for free over at Metro, so they get more jobs and we can eliminate generational poverty. I do a Sunday morning show on the Zone called Severe Reaction. I do a podcast called The Let It Fly Show, which I tape on Wednesday nights and drops on Thursday. And, of course, I host Big Red WrapUp on Tuesday nights, where Jeremiah Searles said, don't worry about the tackle play. The majority of the runs will be inside, and those 3 guys are handling it. So he believes that Nebraska running a lot of duo will be very good this week. Oh,
some good football insights, even as you talked about all your job descriptions. That's good. That's versatility. Thanks so much for being here, and we thank all the people are watching us here on the Husker247 HypeCast. Come back to Husker247.com, and we'll have all the latest there.